Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books right here in the live studios in Hythe, otherwise known as The Haven, southeast England, just near the English Channel. Sorry I'm late again, but yesterday was a really big day and I'm kind of been recuperating from it, but I have recuperated sufficiently. We were able to get in 3.5 hours today of our proof hearing. We skipped the morning session, but it's very good, and you'll be very happy, I hope, when you can hear it. It's really intense. Amazing how many things we're still finding that need to be corrected. It's a good thing we did the final proof hearing. All right, so we're late, so we'll jump right into it. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Mahima Stotram from Sri Krishna Lila Stava. 5 beautiful verses, text 412 through 416 of that book, which is a BB2 publication right now. Not so many devotees know about it, but it is. Sri Krishna Lila Stava. Stanzas, 5 stanzas, glorifying the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by Śrīla Sanatana Goswami, the person who heard the most, spent more time with Lord Chaitanya taking direct instructions. Goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Prabho, Kalidvandodidaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Premavarshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Mannistadaga Madbhagya Mad Anandanamostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin adini chochatakada hanamunchagadachin mam premnarit gantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. I think we're going to finish. I'm sure we're going to finish the 87th chapter. Of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10th Canto, masterfully summarized by Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book. And then we'll see where to go from there. prayers by the personified Vedas. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entities enter into the material nature. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, by one of his plenary expansions, manifests as Karnadakashayi Mahavishnu, the gigantic Vishnu form lying in the causal ocean. Then, from that gigantic form of Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu expands and enters into each universe. From him, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva expand. Vishnu, as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, as Kshirodakashayi, enters into the hearts of all living entities, as well as into all material elements, including the atom. The Brahma Samhita says, Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam. The Lord is within this universe and also within every atom. The living entity has a material body, a small material body, taken in various species and forms. And similarly, the whole universe is but the material body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This body is described in the Shastras as Virat Rupa. As the individual living entity maintains his particular body, the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains the whole cosmic creation, entering within it. As soon as the individual living entity leaves the material body, the body is immediately annihilated. And similarly, as Lord Vishnu leaves the cosmic manifestation, everything is annihilated. Therefore, only when the individual living entity surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is his liberation from material existence possible. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mam eva ye prapadyante, maya metang tarantite. Surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and nothing else is therefore the cause of liberation. How the living entity becomes liberated from the modes of material nature after surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is illustrated by the example of a sleeping man within a room. When a man is sleeping, everyone sees that he is present within the room, but actually the man himself is not within that body. For while sleeping, a man forgets his bodily existence, although others may see that his body is present. Similarly, a liberated person engaged in devotional service to the Lord may be seen by others to be engaged in the household duties of the material world. But since his consciousness is fixed in Krishna, he does not live within this material world. His engagements are different, exactly as the sleeping man's engagements are different from his bodily engagements. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee engaged full-time in the transcendental loving service of the Lord has already surpassed the influence of the three modes of material nature. He is already situated on the Brahman platform and is in the transcendental realm, although he appears to be living within the body or within the material world. In this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami states in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that the person whose only desire is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead may be situated in any condition in the material world, but he is to be understood as Jivan Mukta. That is to say, he is to be considered liberated while living within the body or the material world. The conclusion, therefore, is that a person fully engaged in Krishna consciousness is a liberated person. Such a person actually has nothing to do with his material body or the material world. Those who are not in Krishna consciousness are called karmis and jnanis, and they hover on the bodily and mental platforms and thus are not liberated. This situation is called kaivalya nirasta yoni. But a person situated on the transcendental plane, on the transcendental platform, is freed from the repetition of birth and death. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. Simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one becomes free from the chains of the repetition of birth and death. And after quitting his present body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. This is the conclusion of all the Vedas. Thus, understanding the prayers offered by the personified Vedas, one should surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And there you go, the end of this 9-day chapter. Simply put, thus, after understanding the prayers offered by the personified Vedas, one should surrender unto the lotus feet of Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 87th chapter of Krishna, prayers by the personified Vedas. All glories to the personified Vedas. All glories to the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. All glories to Krishna consciousness itself, the liberating aspect, the cause of the liberation of the conditioned souls. Haribol, may we become liberated by hearing this book. Hare Krishna. So here we are. It's very early. So we will go on to chapter 88. I know that you were all very attached to this chapter after being with it for that many days, but still, time moves on and we have to go on. Chapter 88, Deliverance of Lord Shiva. As a great devotee of Krishna, King Parikshit was already liberated, but for clarification, he was asking various questions of Shukadeva Goswami. In the previous chapter, King Parikshit's question was, what is the ultimate goal of the Vedas? And Shukadeva Goswami explained the matter, giving authoritative descriptions from the disciplic succession, from Sanandana down to Narayana Rishi, Narada, Vyāsadeva, and then Shukadeva himself. The conclusion was that devotional service, or bhakti, is the ultimate goal of the Vedas. A neophyte devotee may question if the ultimate goal of life, or the conclusion of the Vedas, is to elevate oneself to the platform of devotional service, then why is it observed that a devotee of Lord Vishnu is generally not very prosperous materially, whereas a devotee of Lord Shiva is found to be very opulent? In order to clarify this matter, Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadeva Goswami, "My dear Shukadeva Goswami, it is generally found that those who engage in the worship of Lord Shiva, whether in human, demoniac, or demigod society, become materially very opulent, although Lord Shiva himself lives just like a poverty-stricken person. On the other hand, the devotees of Lord Vishnu, who is the controller of the goddess of fortune, do not appear very prosperous, and sometimes they are even found living without any material opulence at all." Lord Shiva lives underneath a tree or in the snow of the Himalaya mountains. He does not even construct a house for himself. But still, the worshippers of Lord Shiva are very rich. Krishna, or Lord Vishnu, however, lives very opulently, whether in Vaikuntha or in the material world. But his devotees appear poverty-stricken. Why is this so? Maharaj Parikshit's question is very intelligent. The two classes of devotees, namely the devotees of Lord Shiva and the devotees of Lord Vishnu, are always in disagreement. Even today, in India, these two classes of devotees still criticize each other, and especially in South India, the followers of Ramanujacharya and the followers of Shankaracharya hold occasional meetings for understanding the Vedic conclusion. Generally, the followers of Ramanujacharya come out victorious in such meetings. So Parikshit Maharaj wanted to clarify the situation by asking this question of Shukadeva Goswami, that Lord Shiva lives as a poor man, although his devotees appear very opulent, whereas Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu is always opulent, and yet his devotees appear poverty-stricken, is a situation which appears contradictory and puzzling to a discriminating person. Replying to King Parikshit's inquiry, Shukadeva Goswami said that Lord Shiva is the master of the material energy. The material energy is represented by Goddess Durga, and because Lord Shiva happens to be her husband, Goddess Durga is completely under his subjugation. Thus, Lord Shiva is understood to be the master of the material energy. The material energy is manifested in three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. And therefore Lord Shiva is the master of these qualities, these three qualities. Although he is in association with these qualities for the benefit of the conditioned soul, Lord Shiva is their director and is not affected. In other words, although the conditioned soul is affected by the three qualities, Lord Shiva, being their master, is not. From the statements of Shukadeva Goswami, we can understand that the effects of worshipping different demigods are not, as some less intelligent persons suppose, the same as the effects of worshipping Lord Vishnu. Shukadeva Goswami clearly states that by worshipping Lord Shiva, one achieves one reward, whereas by worshipping Lord Vishnu, one achieves a different reward. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who worship the different demigods achieve the desired results the respective demigods can reward. Similarly, those who worship the material energy receive the suitable reward for such activities, and those who worship the Pitris receive similar results. But those who engage in devotional service or worship the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna, go to the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. One cannot approach the transcendental region or Paravyoma, the spiritual sky, by worshipping Lord Shiva or Brahma or any other demigod. Since this material world is a product of the three qualities of material nature, all varieties of manifestations come from those three qualities. With the aid of materialistic science, modern civilization has created many machines and comforts, yet they are only varieties of the interactions of the three material qualities. Although the devotees of Lord Shiva are able to obtain many material acquisitions, we should know that such devotees are simply collecting products manufactured by the three qualities. The three qualities are again subdivided into 16, namely the 10 senses, 5 working senses, and 5 knowledging acquiring senses, the mind, and the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and sky. These 16 items are the extensions of the 3 qualities. Material happiness or opulence means sense gratification of the sense or gratification of the senses, especially the genitals, the tongue, and the mind. By exercising our minds, we create many pleasurable things just for enjoyment by the genitals and the tongue. The opulence of a person within this material world is estimated in terms of his exercise of the genitals and the tongue, or in other words, how well he is able to utilize his sexual capacities and how well he is able to satisfy his fastidious taste by eating palatable dishes. Material advancement of civilization necessitates creating objects of enjoyment by mental concoction, just to become happy on the basis of these 2 principles, pleasures for the genitals and pleasures for the tongue. Herein lies the answer to King Parikshit's question to Shukadeva Goswami as to why the worshippers of Lord Shiva are so opulent. The devotees of Lord Shiva are opulent only in terms of the material qualities. Factually, such so-called advancement of civilization is a cause of entanglement in material existence. It is actually not advancement, but degradation. The conclusion is that because Lord Shiva is the master of the 3 qualities, his devotees are given things manufactured by the interactions of these qualities for the satisfaction of the senses. In the Bhagavad Gita, however, we get instruction from Lord Krishna that one has to transcend this qualitative existence. Nistraigunyo Bhavarjana. The mission of human life is to become transcendental to the 3 qualities. Unless one is nistraigunya, he cannot get free from the material entanglement. In other words, favors received from Lord Shiva are not actually beneficial to the conditioned souls, although materially such facilities seem opulent. Shukadeva Goswami continued, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is transcendental to the 3 qualities of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord states that anyone who surrenders unto him surpasses the control of the 3 qualities of material nature. Therefore, since Hari's devotees are transcendental to the control of the material qualities, certainly he himself is transcendental. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is therefore stated that Hari, or Krishna, is the original Supreme Personality. There are 2 kinds of prakritis, or potencies, namely the internal potency and the external potency. And Krishna is the overlord of both. He is Sarvadrik, or the overseer of all the actions of the internal and external potencies. And he is also described as Upadrashta, the supreme advisor. Because he is the supreme advisor, he is above all the demigods, who merely follow the directions of the supreme advisor. As such, if one directly follows the instructions of the Supreme Lord, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, then one gradually becomes nirguna, or above the interactions of the material qualities. To be nirguna means to be bereft of material opulences, because, as we have explained, material opulence means an increase of the actions and reactions of the three material qualities. By worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, instead of being puffed up with material opulences, one becomes enriched with spiritual advancement of knowledge in Krishna consciousness. To become nirguna means to achieve eternal peace, fearlessness, religiousness, knowledge, and renunciation. All these are symptoms of becoming free from the contamination of the material qualities. Shukadeva Goswami, in answering Parikshit Maharaj's question, went on to cite a historical instance regarding Parikshit Maharaj's grandfather, King Yudhishthira. He said that after finishing the Ashwamedha sacrifice in the great sacrificial arena, King Yudhishthira, in the presence of great authorities, inquired from Lord Krishna on that very same point. How is it that devotees of Lord Shiva become materially opulent, whereas the devotees of Lord Vishnu do not? Shukadeva Goswami specifically referred to King Yudhishthira as your grandfather, so that Maharaj Parikshit would be encouraged to think that he was related to Krishna, and that his grandfathers were intimately connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although by nature, Krishna is always very satisfied, when Maharaj Yudhishthira asked this question, the Lord became even more satisfied, because this question and its answer would bear a great meaning for the entire Krishna consciousness society. Whenever Lord Krishna speaks about something to a specific devotee, it is meant not only for that devotee, but for all devotees, and indeed for the entire human society. Instructions by the Supreme Personality of Godhead are important even to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the other demigods. And if one does not take advantage of the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who descends within this world for the benefit of all living entities, he is certainly very unfortunate. Lord Krishna answered the question of Maharaj Yudhishthira as follows. If I especially favor a devotee, and especially wish to care for him, the first thing I do is to take away his riches. When the devotee becomes a penniless pauper, or is put into a comparatively poverty-stricken position, his relatives and family members no longer take interest in him. And in most cases, they give up their connection with him. The devotee then becomes doubly unhappy. First of all, the devotee becomes unhappy because his riches have been taken away by Krishna, and he is made even more unhappy when his relatives desert him because of his poverty. We should note, however, that when a devotee falls into a miserable condition in this way, it is not due to impious activities, known as karma pala. The poverty of the devotee is a creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, when a devotee becomes materially opulent, that is also not due to his pious activities. In either case, whether the devotee becomes poorer or richer, the arrangement is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This arrangement is especially made by Krishna for his devotee, just to make him completely dependent upon him and to free him from all material obligations. He can then concentrate his energies, mind and body, everything, for the service of the Lord. And that is pure devotional service. In the Narada Pancharatra, it is therefore explained, Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, which means being freed from all designations. Works performed for family, society, community, nation, or humanity are all designated. I belong to this society. I belong to this community. I belong to this nation. I belong to this species of life. Such identities are all merely designations. When by the grace of the Lord, a devotee is freed from all designations, his devotional service is actually Naishkarmya. Jnanis are very much attracted by the position of Naishkarmya, in which one's activities no longer have any effect. The devotee's activities are freed from material effects, and so these activities are no longer in the category of karma palam, or fruitive activities. As explained before, the personified Vedas, the happiness and distress of a devotee are produced by the personality of Godhead, and the devotee therefore does not care whether he is in happiness or in distress. He goes on with his duties in executing devotional service. Although his behavior seems to be subject to the actions and reactions of fruitive activities, he is actually freed from the results of action. It may be questioned why a devotee is put into such tribulation by the personality of Godhead. The answer is that this kind of arrangement by the Lord is just like a father sometimes becoming unkind to his sons, because the devotee is a surrendered soul and is taken charge of by the Supreme Lord. Whatever condition of life the Lord puts him in, whether one of distress or of happiness, it is to be understood that behind this arrangement is a large plan designed by the personality of Godhead. For example, Lord Krishna put the Pandavas into a distressed condition so acute that even Grandfather Bhishma could not comprehend how such distress could occur. He lamented that although the whole Pandava family was headed by King Yudhishthira, the most pious king, and protected by the two great warriors, Bhima and Arjuna, and although above all, the Pandavas were all intimate friends and relatives of Lord Krishna, they still had to undergo such tribulations. Later, however, it was proved that this was planned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as a part of his great mission to annihilate the miscreants and protect the devotees. Another question may be raised. Why is the difference between a devotee and a common man? What is the difference between a devotee and a common man, since both are put into different kinds of happy and distressful conditions? The devotee by the arrangement of the personality of Godhead, and the common man as a result of his past deeds. How is the devotee any better than the ordinary karmi? The answer is that the karmis and the devotees are not on the same level. In whatever condition of life the karmi may be, he continues in the cycle of birth and death, because the seed of karma or fruitive activity is there, and it fructifies whenever there is an opportunity. By the law of karma, a common man is perpetually entangled in repeated birth and death, whereas a devotee's distress and happiness, not being under the laws of karma, are part of a temporary arrangement by the Supreme Lord, which does not entangle the devotee. Such an arrangement is made by the Lord only to serve a temporary purpose. If a karmi performs auspicious acts, he is elevated to the heavenly planets. And if he acts impiously, he is put into a hellish condition. But whether a devotee acts in a so-called pious or impious manner, he is neither elevated nor degraded, but is transferred to the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, a devotee's happiness and distress and the karmi's happiness and distress are not on the same level. This fact is corroborated by a speech by Yamaraj to his servants in connection with the liberation of Ajamil. Yamaraj advised his followers that they should approach only those persons who have never uttered the holy name of the Lord or remembered the form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. Yamaraj also advised his servants never to approach the devotees. On the contrary, he instructed his messengers that if they meet a devotee, they should offer their respectful obeisances. So there is no question of a devotee's being promoted or degraded within this material world, as there is a gulf of difference between the punishment awarded by the mother and the punishment awarded by an enemy. So a devotee's distress is not the same as the distress of a common karmi. Here another question may be raised. If the Supreme Lord is all-powerful, why should he try to reform his devotee by putting him into distress? The answer is that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead puts his devotee into distress, it is not without purpose. Sometimes the purpose is that in distress, a devotee's feelings of attachment to Krishna are magnified. For example, when Krishna, before leaving the capital of the Pandavas for his home, asked Kunti Devi for permission to leave, she said, "My dear Krishna, in our distress, you are always present with us. Now, because we have been elevated to a royal position, you are leaving us. I would therefore prefer to live in distress than to lose you." When a devotee is put into a situation of distress, his devotional activities are accelerated. Therefore, to show special favor to a devotee, the Lord sometimes puts him into distress. Besides that, it is stated that the sweetness of happiness is sweeter to those who have tasted bitterness. The Supreme Lord descends to this material world just to protect his devotees from distress. In other words, if devotees were not in a distressed condition, the Lord would not have come down. As for his killing the demons or miscreants, this can be easily done by his various energies. Just as many asuras are killed by his external energy, goddess Durga. Therefore, the Lord does not need to come down personally to kill such demons. But when his devotee is in distress, he must come down. Lord Nrsimhadev appeared not in order to kill Hiranyakashipu, but to save Prahlad and to give him blessings. In other words, because Prahlad Maharaj was put into very great distress, the Lord appeared. When after the dense, dark night there is finally sunrise in the morning, it is very pleasant. When there is scorching heat, cold water is very pleasant. And when there is freezing winter, hot water is very pleasant. Similarly, when a devotee, after experiencing the stress of the material world, relishes the spiritual happiness awarded by the Lord, his position is still more pleasant and enjoyable. The Lord continued, "When my devotee is bereft of all material riches and is deserted by his relatives, friends, and family members, because he has no one to look after him, he completely takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord." Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, "My dear Lord Krishna, O son of Nanda Maharaj, you are now standing before me with Srimati Radharani, the daughter of King Vrishabhanu. I am now surrendering unto you Please accept me. Please do not kick me away. I have no shelter other than you. When a devotee is thus put into so-called miserable conditions and bereft of riches and family, he tries to revive his original position of material opulence. But although he tries again and again, Krishna again and again takes away all his resources. Thus, he finally becomes disappointed in material activities. And in that stage of frustration, in all endeavors, he can fully surrender under the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such persons are advised by the Lord from within to associate with devotees. By associating with devotees, they naturally become inclined to render service to the Personality of Godhead, and they immediately get all facilities from the Lord to advance in Krishna consciousness. The non-devotees, however, are very careful about preserving their material condition of life. Generally, therefore, such non-devotees do not come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but worship Lord Shiva or other demigods for immediate material profit. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, therefore, Kangshantak karmanang siddhim yajanta ihadevataha. The karmis, in order to achieve success within this material world, worship the various demigods. It is also stated by Lord Krishna that those who worship the demigods are not mature in their understanding, in their intelligence. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore, because of their strong attachment for Him, do not foolishly go to the demigods. Lord Krishna said to King Yudhishthira, my devotee is not deterred by any adverse conditions of life. He always remains firm and steady. Therefore I give myself to him, and I favor him so that he can achieve the highest success of life. The mercy bestowed upon the tried devotee by the Supreme Personality is described as Brahma, which indicates that the greatness of that mercy can be compared only to the all-pervasive greatness of Brahman. Brahma means unlimitedly great and unlimitedly expanding. That mercy is also described as Paramam, for it has no comparison within the material world. And it is also called Sukshmam, very fine. Not only is Lord's mercy upon the tired devotee great and unlimitedly expansive, but it is of the finest quality of transcendental love between the devotee and the Lord. Such mercy is further described as Chinmatram, completely spiritual. The use of the word matram indicates absolute spirituality with no tinge of material qualities. That mercy is also called Sat, eternal, and Anantakam, unlimited. Since the devotee of the Lord is awarded such unlimited spiritual benefit, why should he worship the demigods? A devotee of Krishna does not worship Lord Shiva or Brahma or any other subordinate demigod. He completely devotes himself to the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shukadeva Goswami continued, the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and including Lord Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and others, are apt to be very quickly satisfied or very quickly angered by the good or ill behavior of their devotees. But this is not so with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. This means that every living entity within this material world, including the demigods, is conducted by the three modes of material nature, and therefore the qualities of ignorance and passion are very prominent within the material world. Those devotees who take blessings from the demigods are also infected with the material qualities, especially passion and ignorance. Lord Sri Krishna has therefore stated in the Bhagavad Gita that to take blessings from the demigods is less intelligent, because when one takes benedictions from the demigods, the results of such benedictions are temporary. It is easy to get material opulence by worshipping the demigods, but the result is sometimes disastrous. As such, the benedictions derived from demigods are appreciated only by the less intelligent class of men. Persons who derive benedictions from the demigods gradually become puffed up with material opulence and neglectful of their benefactors. Shukadeva Goswami addressed King Parikshit thus: My dear King, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are the principal trio of the material creation, are able to bless or curse anyone. Of this trio, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are very easily satisfied, but also very easily angered. When satisfied, they give benedictions without consideration, and when angry, they curse the devotee without consideration. But Lord Vishnu is not like that. Lord Vishnu is very considerate. Whenever a devotee wants something from Lord Vishnu first considers whether such a benediction will ultimately be good for the devotee. Lord Vishnu never bestows any benediction which will ultimately prove disastrous to the devotee. By his transcendental nature, he is always merciful. Therefore, before giving any benediction, he considers whether it will prove beneficial for the devotee. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always merciful, even when it appears that he has killed a demon, or even when he apparently becomes angry toward a devotee, his actions are always auspicious. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore known as all good. Whatever he does is good. And I'm going to stop there. For the first time, we're going to get stuck in the middle of a chapter, except for chapter 87. I got into a habit now. I've got into a habit. So we're going to stop here in the reading, and then the rest of this chapter will talk about the deliverance of Lord Shiva. We just got the philosophical background. Okay. All the assembled sages out there somewhere in cyberspace, please bless us with your reflections and your whatever.
First is from Shantarupa Devi Dasi.
Shantarupa Devi Dasi, Haribol.
All glories to you and all assembled Vaishnavas.
Jai. Well said.
Rati Manjari says, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Haribol Rati. Jai Rati Manjari Devi Dasi for her Sankirtan heroics.
From Gopakanya.
Yes, Gopakanya.
Jai Maharaj, Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Jai, all glories to Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Krishna Katha.
Jai Shri Krishna Katha.
From Sudevi Dasi.
Haribol Sudevi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, good to be here again today with you and all these fortunate souls.
Haribol.
From Deva Dharana.
Devadharana, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. How I have missed hearing your beautiful readings, but Krishna has seen fit for me to hear this afternoon, which means that I am indeed fortunate. Thank you, dear Vaishnava.
Hare Krishna, Devadharana, Hare Bo.
From Brian Phillips.
Hare Bo, Bhakta Brian.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai, glories to Prabhupada.
Glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. This is from Lalita Vrajagopi Dasi.
Lalita Vrajagopi Dasi, what a nice name. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Beautiful reading, thank you very much indeed. My spiritual name is Lalita Vrajagopi Dasi from Argentina, South America.
Wow. South America has now entered the United Nations of devotees.
My spiritual master is Vaisheshika Das Adhikari.
Hare Krishna. Well, we have something in common. He's my best friend.
I am currently feeling fear that I might not understand Krishna's plans for me, and I fear that I might get angry at him.
Well, Latinas, they sometimes are a little bit prone to get upset. Don't worry, it will pass. It's temporary, don't worry. Sometimes we can get angry at Krishna, but we have to be in a very high position to be able to actually get angry at Krishna and have him feel good about it. So I guess we have to be careful at this stage, at this level. Maybe we can hanker for the time we can get upset with Krishna for the right reason and please him.
From Anandamurti Devi Dasi.
Haribol Anandamurti Devi Dasi.
Dear Guru Maharaj and all assembled devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Thank you so much for reading Śrīla Prabhupāda's books every day. Today's reading shows the real position of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. I understand that the Lord's devotees are very special.
Yes, that's a very nice takeaway from this section of the Bhagavatam. Very nice takeaway. Because Krishna, before he gives his benediction, he considers whether it's going to be good or not. But the demigods, they sometimes don't consider. They just at a whim. Therefore, sometimes Krishna has to correct the demigods when they make a mistake. Once again proving that Krishna is the supreme.
This is from Radhikatma Das in Israel.
Oh, Radhikatma, Hare Krishna. I haven't heard from you for a long time. Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you very much for a wonderful katha.
Hare Krishna. The pleasure is all mine.
And from Dayanitai.
Hari Bo, Dayanitai.
Dear Śrīla Guru Maharaj and all other devotees, please accept my obeisance. I thought the example of the man sleeping in the room while arguably he is not present in the room was impressive.
Yes. I also noted that one while I was reading.
From Rati Manjari.
Haribol Rati.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Personally, I am not so sure that I can appreciate everything we heard tonight about Krishna taking away the material opulences of a devotee again and again, so that he or she may surrender fully to the Lord, which is probably because I am very attached to my few pennies.
Well, they say pauper is proud of his penny. Probably true to a certain extent. But Krishna is very kind to you because he's giving you all this ecstatic service and ecstatic pleasure, doing Sankirtan, getting new people involved and churning the ocean of transcendental bliss. What do you have to complain about? Nothing, seems to me.
From Daitya Haridas.
Daitya Hari, 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 Hari.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
All glories to Prabhupada.
I can't remember exactly, but I think I heard Bhaktivedanta Swami explain once something like that Krishna is a parent and demigods are like clerks at a supermarket. If you go into a supermarket and buy something, the clerk isn't going to ask what you're buying, whether what you're buying is good for you or not, whereas a good parent won't let you have anything if they think it will be harmful.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good example, good analogy. Thank you very much, everybody. I started a little late last night because I'm recovering from yesterday, but I'm on the mend and I'm on the way up. So, promise I'll be with you tomorrow night, hopefully on time, and we can hear more of this delightful Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. We're coming to the end, and it looks like Radharaman predicted that we would finish on Janmashtami. It may be. Let's see. It may be finished on well, at least finished on Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. Monday and Tuesday. Something?
From Rati Manjari.
Rati, Haribol.
Yes, Sankirtan is very inspiring indeed. I do not mean to complain about Krishna. I am just a little insecure whether I would be able to stand it if the Lord would take everything away from me.
Well,
so I pray that he won't do that.
There's a saying, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. You know, I haven't had an earned income in over 50 years. And I've gone from one place to another, to another, to another, to another. And sometimes I go from one place to another and I don't have anything. Sometimes I go from one place to another and I have a lot of things. Sometimes I go from one place to another and things come that I need without me looking for them. So I think it's safe to say that Krishna, he's expert, because if a devotee is actually interested only in serving Krishna and spreading his glories, then Krishna becomes pleased, and that devotee can become the most opulent. It's not that Krishna's devotees are always poverty-stricken, Rati. There's many, many examples of Krishna's devotees who became extremely opulent. And on top of that, they are opulent in knowledge and devotion. And therefore, as we've just read in this chapter, therefore their success is guaranteed, and their success is not temporary.
She says you make me laugh too, Guru Maharaj.
Oh, good. Nothing of a little humor to lighten up the atmosphere. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur, Prem, Anandi, Hari Hari Bo. See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, same topic. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See you tomorrow. Hari Bo.